What if the NHL went completely bankrupt, just like BioSteel, just like the WNBA almost every single season until the NBA supports it? What if Gary Bettman had to close the NHL down and a new owner take over in the name of me? That is right, I'm going to be creating my own entire hockey league, the Pasta Hockey League here in NHL 24. We did it in 23. A lot of you guys did not think it would be back for 24, but here we are. It's going to be slightly different. We are going to go 10 full seasons with one of these lucky franchises and try to win them a Stanley Cup within that time frame. Now let's go ahead, take a look at every single team that we have in the PHL right now. Starting off with the Alabama Burger Boys, an absolute classic. We have the Alaskan Lions, the Alberta Moose, the Boston Alcoholics, California Stoners, Central Grizzlies, the Chicago Coyotes, the Fort Wayne Vikings. We got the Halifax Bulls in there, the Italy Slices, Kansas City Wings, the New York Chefs, the murder capital of the USA, and the St. Louis Guns. We got the Warsaw Monsters, the Waterloo Riz, and finally the Yukon Icemen. It is a 16-team league, and we are going to be choosing one of these lucky teams to control here in NHL 24. We will be doing a fantasy draft, so every single player is a free agent essentially, and we are going to try to build a Stanley Cup winning roster and try to win them a Stanley Cup within 10 seasons. Me and the chat have decided to take control of the Halifax Bulls of the PHL. We got 10 years to win them a Stanley Cup, so let's go ahead, head into the fantasy draft and see who we will be selecting with the first overall pick. So, considering the fact that I funded this league and I bought it away from Gary Bettman and the NHL, I will be selecting the first overall in the fantasy draft with the Halifax Bulls, followed by the Chicago Coyotes, the Yukon Icemen, the Waterloo Riz, and the Fort Wayne Vikings. So let's go ahead and see who I select first, but I'm pretty sure everybody in the chat already knows who I'm going to take. So here we go. We do have Gretzky, Orr, and all the great legends like Lemieux in the fantasy draft, but obviously I'm going to take a 26-year-old Connor McDavid, 3 years left on his deal, 99 overall. Welcome to the Halifax Bulls. Obviously, McDavid went first overall. Makar went to the Coyotes. Draisaitl to the Icemen. McKinnon to the Waterloo Riz. Matthews will be playing in Fort Wayne. Rip to him. Pasternak to Boston. That's funny. He plays for Boston in real life. Kucherov to the New York Chefs. Elias Pettersson to the Moose. Bedard will go to the St. Louis Guns, where he hit the first Michie. Hughes to the Central Grizzlies. Rantanen to the Lions. Kachuk to the California Stoners. Breadman to the Slices. That's funny. Hughes to the Wings, or the Kings. Actually, no, it is the Wings. The Monsters will get Roman Josi, and McAvoy to the Alabama Burger Boys. There is the first round of the fantasy draft here in the PHL. Oh, for my second pick here in the fantasy draft, I got a forward now. Now I want a defenseman, a top 5 player all time in Nick Lidstrom, 94 overall, 24 years of age, 4 years left on his deal. Now I am looking for the perfect line mate for Connor McDavid. It's going to be Jaromir Jagr, 94 overall, same age as McDavid. Select and welcome to the Bulls. Next pick I'm going to be making is Mark Stone, two-way forward, 31 years old, 90 overall. Welcome to the team. So we got our first line set. Grows to a high overall. Now, Shea Theodore has 2 years left on his deal at only 5.2 mil, so I'm going to select him, 89 overall, 28 years of age. Honestly, out of all the goalies that are available, I think Jeremy Swayman's our best bet. He does need to re-sign, but he is very young at 24 years of age. So welcome to the Halifax Bulls. The next selection I will be taking is an 87 overall Troy Terry, signed long-term as well. I think I would like to take a defenseman now. Another guy I like to pick up in franchise mode is Eric Chernak, 85 overall, 26 years old, and he signed for 8 long years, so I don't have to re-sign him anytime soon. I think we got to go with another legend. Doug Gilmour is signed for 3 years, 88 overall at 27 years of age. There is our second line center done. I'm going to be taking another legend here in Ken Daneyko, regardless, 85 overall, 27 years old, only makes 7 mil also for 3 years, so he signed for a few seasons. We're going to grab a third line center in Kevin Hayes, only 31 years old, making literally pennies on the dollar for 3 years at an 85 overall. So the next selection will be a 85 overall, 31-year-old Taylor Hall, 2 years left on his deal at $6 million. Welcome to the Bulls. I'm going to shore up my D-core. We have 5D now with Josh Manson now joining the team at an 84 overall. For our backup, we're going to go with Stuart Skinner. Only makes 2.6 mil for 3 years at an 82 overall, 24 years of age. I'm going to go off the board here and go with Axel Sandin Pellikka. He's only a 71 overall, but he'll be ready in a few years. He's only 18 years old as well. Medium elite potential. He could be a future defenseman stud for us. I think we're going to take Blake Wheeler, 1 year left on his deal, making not even $1 million. He's also an 84 overall, so he should be a W selection. And next up, I think I could go with TJ Brody. He does make a lot of money for an 83 overall. For a depth forward, I'm going to go Warren Fogle. We only have 10 million cap space, so we really got to be careful with who we choose here. And there it is, boys. We have all our picks in the NHL fantasy draft we have made. We started off with McDavid. We got Lidstrom, Yager, Stone, Theodore, Swayman, Terry, Chernak, Gilmore, Danico, and Kevin Hayes for our first row. I think we'll be competitive in year number 1, and we also can build towards the future as well, because we are going to be doing this for 10 full years. So we got to lock in, get your popcorn ready. It's going to be a very fun ride. Now, before we go ahead with the actual sim, I'm going to show you guys the jerseys, considering it did take me a long time to make. The Alabama Burger Boys, we're pretty familiar with those two jerseys there. No surprise. The Alaska Lions, they have very nice black and gray jerseys. Moving along here, we got the Alberta Moose. Obviously, green and black and yellow. I think those jerseys look very clean. I honestly like every team's jerseys in the PHL, maybe outside of like 1 or 2. I think I've done a good job creating at least relatively nice jerseys for teams to wear here in the Pasta Hockey League. We got the Central Grizzlies. They have very nice jerseys as well. Chicago Coyotes, top 3 jersey easily. I wore these in World of Chell for many, many years. I love those jerseys. Moving along here, we got the Fort Wayne Gremlins. They have beautiful blue, orange, and white jerseys. They look hella clean in my opinion. Halifax, their jerseys are goated too. Look at that, chat. W or L, what are we saying? Moving along, we got the Italy Slices. They got a pizza in the middle. I think those jerseys look clean. Something different, something unique. The Kings, purple, black, and white look absolutely legendary. The New York Chefs, they have the green, black, and yellow. They are the Chefs of New York. The St. Louis Guns, I forget what I created their team. There we go. I've created this team probably back in December, I think it was. We get the Warsaw Monsters. They are probably the worst jerseys out of anything. They are bright yellow. I went with like LA Laker colors. The Waterloo Riz, we're pretty familiar with them. They got very nice jerseys. And then finally, the Utah Icemen might have the best jerseys in the entire PHL. So now that we saw all the jerseys, let's go ahead, take a look at all the teams and where players are playing. Now, taking a look at teams roster, the Alabama Burger Boys have Paul Coffey, McAvoy, Kaprizov, Marcel Dion, Zabinajad Marchand, Seth Jones is there. Who's their starting goalie? Let's take a look. It's John Gibson. Okay, moving along to the next team. We got the Alaska Lions. They got Rantanen, Marner, Tage Thompson. They went with a pretty young team in Alaska. Who is their starting goalie? I want to take a look. And it's Jock Plante at a 94 overall. That's crazy. Okay, moving along. The Alberta Moose. Pedersen, Solani, Heiskanen, Dylan Larkins there, Sider, Reinbacher. And in goal, they are going to have Thatcher Demko. Moving along, Hellebuck is on the Boston Alcoholics alongside Pasta, Dahlin, Eichel, Carlson, and Barzell. Kachuk will be on the California Stoners. Larry Robinson's there. Sidney Crosby is in Cali. Phil Housley. And their starting goalie will be UC Saros, a very good pickup by them, if I do say so myself. Jack Hughes on the Central Grizzlies. Hedman's there. Okay, who's their goalie? Let's take a look. Jake Ottinger, that's a steal. He's 24 years old. Maybe we should have gone with him as our goalie, but he wasn't on the board. Makar Howe, Howard Chuck, absolute dynamo of a team here in Chicago. Goalies, Sorokin. Chicago's a good team. Every team, honestly, is going to be a good team, considering it is a condensed league. Oh my God, Matthews, Lemieux, Richard, and Kyle Connor for the Fort Wayne Gremlins are going to be a dynasty. No way they are not. Okay, moving along. We got the Italy Slices. There we go. I'm not going to look at the goalies. Quinn Hughes, Barkov. There we go. Moving along. Gretzky is going to play in New York. The New York Chefs for Gretzky, as well as Kucherov, Pronger's there. Thank you, New York Ranger fan, for becoming a member. Shout out to you. Bedard went to the St. Louis Guns alongside Messier, Bork, and Forsberg. Warsaw Monsters have Peter Forsberg with Yossi, Robertson, and Lindholm. Waterloo Riz have Nate Dogg, Bobby Orr, who is 27 years old. Maybe we should have taken Bobby Orr, to be honest. That would have been a great pickup. Maybe I should have gone with him. Draisaitl on the Icemen with Tim Stützle and Mikhail Sergachev. And there we go. And of course, we already know our team, the Halifax Bulls. We are loaded as well. I think we did a very good job, a very nice job of drafting and constructing our team together. Now, if you guys do enjoy videos like this, make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications so you get notified when I go live or post a video. And now it is time. Let's go ahead, simulate our first season, and see how we do. Now, in year number 1, this is what our lines currently look like. We got Stone, McDavid, and Yager on the first line, +5. Also, Terry, Dougie Gilmore alongside Taylor Hall. Then we have Fogle, Taves, and Kevin Hayes. Blake Wheeler, Ryan Johansson, and Nick Bonino. Defensively, we're also loaded. Lidstrom and Denenko, +5 there. Theodore Chernak, Manson, and Gio. And then finally in goal, we have an 88 overall starting goalie in Jeremy Swayman and an 82 overall backup in Stu Skin Daddy. So unfortunately, the Halifax Bulls missed the playoffs. We went 36, 37, and 9, only 81 points if we take a look at the entire NHL. The Waterloo Riz were the best team, winning 54 games. Fort Wayne was up there. Kansas City was very good. California, Alaska was up there. St. Louis, Italy, Alabama, Central, Boston, Chicago, Alberta, and Alberta was the final team to make it. Wow, we were 3 points back of making the playoffs. Obviously, we are in the PECA Conference. Actually, we were 6 points back because the Boston Alcoholics were the final team in our conference to make the postseason. Now, on our team, McDavid had a great season. 57 goals, 120 points. Yager only put up 31 goals and 77. Mark Stone, 73. Lidstrom had not a great year himself. Doug Gilmour was pretty bad, if I'm being honest. Troy Terry only had 50. So yeah, we definitely need to upgrade in the offseason for goalies. Swayman, 31, 29, and 6. A 901 save percentage and a 310 GAA alongside 3 shutouts. Connor McDavid will end up leading the entire league in goals with 57 and points with 120. McKinnon had 105. Nylander was up there with 95. Brett Hall had 94. Draisaitl, Eichel, and Ray Bourque all had good seasons. On the goal side, obviously McDavid led. Gretzky, one behind with 56. The great one, baby. Only 37 apples, kind of odd if you're asking me. Lemieux had 47, Nathan McKinnon 46, Robitaille was up there. Trevor Zegras had 44 and 85 points. That's a little crazy. UC Saros will lead all goalies and wins with 38. Allmark was up there as well as Patrick Waugh. And for shutouts, it will be a 2-2 tie between Jake Ottinger and UC Saros, only having 4 apiece. Goaltenders are not going to be dominating in this sim. And here is our year number 1 pasta playoff bracket here in NHL 24. Obviously, we have the wild card rounds. 4 teams are put in, 3 teams are already in. So St. Louis, Central, Boston, Alaska, Chicago, Alabama, Italy, and Alberta all have to play for the final spot. So we are going to simulate ahead and see who goes on and takes home the very first ever Pasta Cup. So the Alabama Burger Boys got into the playoffs as well as the Alberta Moose. We have the Boston Alcoholics making it, and then the St. Louis Guns. So our semi-final matchups are set. Who's going to make the conference finals? And then finally, who will play in the Pasta Cup finals? And in the very first Pasta Cup final, we have the Alabama Burger Boys up against the Fort Wayne Gremlins. Or no, the Fort Wayne Vikings. There we go. Who's going to take it home here in year number 1 in the inaugural season in the PHL? And in year number 1, the Fort Wayne Vikings will get it done, beating the Alabama Burger Boys in, I believe, Game 7 was that? Yeah, Game 7, 4-3, and they are the inaugural Pasta Cup champions here in the PHL. Jonathan Marchessault will lead the playoffs in scoring, 34 points. Kaprizov had 32, also 14 goals. Eichel had 27. Lemieux was up there. Maurice Richard had a good. Connor McDavid is pretty much going to take home all the awards. The Art Ross, Maurice Richard, Hart Trophy. The Norris will go to Ray Bourque. The Calder to Connor Bedard. Mario Lemieux will win the Conn Smythe. Jake Ottinger the Vezina. And the Selke will go to Wayne Gretzky. Now in year number 1, the Warsaw Monsters will get the first overall pick. We actually slid down 1 slot. We had 4, but we went down to 5. Which is honestly not great. Now in the NHL draft, I'm going to be taking the chance on Tarek Parashak. He's a right winger. He scored 35 goals, 50 assists in the WHL. This guy, the defenseman, is NHL ready in 1 year. He could be a good 2-way defenseman, but I think we got to go with the winger. Let's see. Hopefully I did not make the wrong pick. 71 overall, elite medium potential, so he can definitely grow. And what was the defenseman? He was 72 at only top 4 medium. That is a W pick. Luckily, in the offseason, we did re-sign Jeremy Swayman. Blake Wheeler is back. Warren Fogle. We have no cap space for him. We got Jonathan Toews back. So the only guy we did lose was Warren Fogle, but luckily we can replace him in free agency. Now for the first official trade in Halifax Bulls history, Mark Stone, a first and a third for Dylan Cousins, who's like 10 years younger, already almost better than Mark Stone. He grows to a 90. Let's see, will the Alcoholics do it? And they have. Boston had no problem accepting my offer. The next trade I will be making is for Matt Duchene. He's got 3 years left at only $3.2 million, and he's like an 85 overall. So we're going to give up 2 prospects and a couple of picks to see if that will go through. And the Alabama Burger Boys accepted my deal, and the Halifax Bulls have upgraded their roster heading into year number 2. Heading into year number 2, we did do a little bit of an upgrade. We got Cousins, McDavid, and Yager now in that first line, Hayes, Gilmore, Hall. And then our third line consists of Troy Terry, Duchesne, and Wheeler. Lekara Mackey with Taves and Ryan Johansson. Now defensively, +5 on the chemistry. We also got Chernak and Danico. Sandin Pellikka making his NHL debut with Josh Manson. And then in goal, an 88 Swayman and only an 82 overall backup Stuart Skinner. So here we are at the deadline trying to make the playoffs. We are 31-30-1. We're trading Skinner, Hall, and 2 second-round picks for Jake Gensel, and I believe his name is Dan Hildeby, and luckily the Italy Slices had no problem making that offer. I did not know that it shows you what the teams want in return, like a top 4 D-man, first-round pick. I mean, Carlson, first-round pick. A lot of these guys want a starting goalie. That's crazy. I wish I had have known that this entire time. And it only took 2 seasons for the Halifax Bulls to make the playoffs. 45-34-3, 93.2nd in our division. If we take a look at the Pekka Conference, we were the 3rd best team, so we comfortably made the postseason. Thank God. The trades that I made definitely went through. Central was the best team, winning 50 games. And in the Shoresy division, it was the New York Chefs as they won 47. Taking a look here, Alabama, let's take a look at the entire NHL. Central was the best team, followed by Fort Wayne, who obviously won the Plastic Cup last season, 46 wins. New York was good, Chicago, Waterloo, and Yukon. McDavid again is going to have a good season, 45 goals, 104 points. Yager had 85, 34 goals. Jake Gensel, a very good pickup for us. Lidstrom was good. Doug Gilmore had a good season. Troy Terry and Shea Theodore, who had 18 goals. That's crazy as a D-man. Swayman, goddamn Swayman, 897 save percentage, only 1 shutout and 35 wins. We might have to go out there and get a better goalie. He's kind of been our downfall. Last season, he was not very good also, only rocking a 901 save percentage. McDavid will lead the PHL in scoring with 104 points, followed by Gretzky's 102. Jack Hughes is up there, as well as Ray Bourque. And on the goal side, it will go to Sidney Crosby, 37 years old, putting up 53 tucks on the season. Bedard, as a 19-year-old, had 51. Robitaille had 49, Matthews 46, and McDavid 45 for the goalies. Andre had the most wins at 35, and the most shutouts will go to Ron Hextall, who had 6 on the season. So the Halifax Bulls are in the wild card round. We have to play the Alaskan Lions. It is I believe, a 7-game series to get to even make the playoffs, so it's tough even getting in. I think it's 1 home, 1 away, 1 home, 1 away, and vice versa. And the Lions are going to take game number 1, 4-2 over the Bulls. Maybe the nerves got the best of us. All right, so here we go. PHL playoff hockey. We got the Bulls against the Lions. Game 2 overtime, knotted up at 3 apiece. Let's see if we can tie up this series at 1-1. Gensel coming in. Is that Jock Plant in the net? Doesn't even have a helmet on. That is perks of playing in the PHL. There are basically no rules. I'm not enforcing helmets. I'm not enforcing visors. None of that new generation stuff. Good old-fashioned hockey here to be played. We're going to go full forecheck and full attack. Here we go. McDavid over to Yager. McDavid gets bodied. Yager try to pick up that puck, brother. Okay, never mind. Pavel Zacha on the attack for the Lions. Over Rantanen coming in. And Mikko Rantanen will knot the hat trick as the Lions take a dominating 2-0 series lead here in the wild card round of the playoffs. Unfortunately, Halifax is choking in their first ever playoff run as we are now down 0-3 to the Alaska Lions. Luckily, Halifax will force a Game 5 after a 2-1 victory. The Halifax Bulls will force a Game 6 after shutting out the Lions 2-0 in game number 5. Well, I guess that was my fault for having auto-rotate goalies on. I don't know why Hildeby was in the net in the goddamn fucking playoffs. Did he start? No, Swayman started, and Jeremy Swayman got pulled after giving up, 3 goals? Are you kidding me? 29 seconds to go, gets the game winner as the Lions are headed to the playoffs, and Halifax, for the 2nd year in a row, have not qualified for the postseason in the PHL. And in year number 2, the California Stoners will go on and take home the Pasta Cup, beating Chicago in 7 games in the finals. Shout out to Cali for getting that done. Dale Howardchuk will lead the playoffs in scoring 20 goals in 22 games, also 37 points. Crosby had 15 goals, 28 points. Pavelski was good. Gordie Howe, of course, Mr. Hockey, will always be good. Caulfield was okay, and Clayton Clutch Keller. Yet again, McDavid will take home the Ted Lindsay, Art Ross, and Hart Trophy. Sidney Crosby, the Maurice Richard, the Norris will go to Ray Bourque. The Conn Smythe will also go to Crosby. Patrick Waugh, the Vezina, and the Selke to Leon Draisaitl. So the Halifax Bulls, their first selection in the NHL entry draft, we're going to go with Malcolm Spence. He starred, medium elite potential. He's going to be NHL ready in 1 year, and he is a medium top 6 forward at 71 overall. Luckily, we did re-sign Shea Theodore to a monster $10.4 million deal for 5 years in the offseason. We got Parashak signed. That was our draft pick in year number 1 as well. And now we head to free agency. All right, so instead, I'm going to be trying to trade Dougie Gilmour for 2 firsts, a second. Also going after Rope Hintz and Nick Paul from the Italy Slices. And Italy is going to be making out like gangbusters here compared to you. Yeah, I'm sure, dude. Calm down. We know the pizza's good in Italy, but the hockey definitely is not. All right, so the next trade I'm going to make is Jonathan Toews, 2 seconds and a third for a 90 overall Joe Pavelski. Probably only going to play 1 year with Halifax, but if we can win a Stanley Cup in that 1 year, it will be a success. And luckily, that trade did get accepted by the reigning Pasta Cup champions in the California Stoners. So we have a pretty similar roster heading into our third season. We did pick up Rope Hintz, who's an 89 overall. Also, Joe Pavelski on that second line. We got Terry Hayes and Duchesne on the third line. Wheeler, Heat, and Nick Paul on that fourth line. Defensively, Lidstrom, Theodore, Chernak, Lundqvist. And then we have Grands and Josh Manson. And in goal, an 88 overall Jeremy Swayman with an 82 Dennis Hildeby as our backup goalie. Now, luckily for us, we did, again, just barely sneak into the playoffs. 89 points, going 40, 33, and 9. We were the last team in the PECA Conference to make the playoffs. The Grizzlies, the Guns, Boston, Fort Wayne again. Fort Wayne's dominating, dude. In the Shoresy Division or Conference, the Coyotes are the best team, 50, 24, and 8. That is great. And the Fort Wayne Vikings, again, will be the best team in the PHL, 55, 22, and 5. Connor McDavid somehow had a down season, 37 goals and 91 points. Yager had 63 and 24 goals. Jake Gensel had 63. Pavelski had 50. Lidstrom 50. Rope Hintz was okay. So offensively, we're not great, but also defensively, Swayman 311 GAA, a 905 save percentage. Did have 4 shutouts and 33 wins, but I would like my starting goalie to have at least a 910 on the season. Brett Hull is going to dominate the PHL, leading in goals with 57 and points with 108. Eichel had 105. Lemieux was up there. Trottier, Maurice Richard had 102 on the season. And for goals, obviously Hall led. Lemieux was right behind him with 53. Howard Chuck had 50 and Jack Eichel 46. Sorokin's going to have the most wins by a goalie with 43. And for shutouts, it will be a big tie at 4. Swayman was up there, who is our starting goalie, so I guess that is a positive. And in the first round, or in the wild card round, I should say, we are going to be playing the Boston Alcoholics to even get into the postseason, and then unfortunately have to play the Fort Wayne Vikings, who are almost not a dynasty, but probably the best team in the league currently. Here's our playoff bracket. Let's see if we can get in. Halifax will take game number 1, 5-3 over Boston. Boston will tie up the series at 1 apiece after a 3-1 victory in game 2. Boston will go up 2-1 in the series after beating us 3-1. It looks like Boston will go up 3-1 over Halifax and have a chance to make the first round of the postseason. Thankfully, with our season on the line, we dominated them 6-2 and we force a game 6. 47 shots on net. We definitely came to play. The Halifax Bulls have forced the game 7 back in Boston after a 4-3 victory. We had a 1-goal lead in the third period. 3 straight goals Boston listed off. That's terrible effort. I mean, Yager gets us back to within 1, but it does not matter as the Halifax Bulls yet again are going to lose in the play-in round for the 2nd season in a row. And shout out to the Kansas City Wings for going on, beating the St. Louis Guns in 5 games in the finals to capture their very first Pasta Cup, as we've had a new winner pretty much every single season so far. Alexander Barkov and JT Miller are going to tie for the most points in the playoffs with 25 apiece, followed by Bedard, who had 22, Luke Robitaille, 22, Johnny Hockey at 22, Lindholm, 22 as well. Brett Hall is going to win all the major individual awards. The Norris will go to Cale Makar, the Calder to Zellweger, JT Miller, the Conn Smythe, Sorokin, the Vezina, and the Selke will go to Crosby. We got Connor McDavid back on a massive $15 million contract for, I believe, 8 years. So he signed long-term, 29 years old, the best hockey player of all time. Now heading into year number 4, we pretty much have the same exact team besides Jake DeBrusk adding to our roster. Third liner at an 84 overall. +5 on the top 2 lines. We also have Guyette, Nick Paul, and Parashek as our 4th line. Defensively, we'll have Lidstrom and Theodore, Chernak, Lamoureux, Manson, and Grands, as we did lose Sandine Pellica to an RFA qualify, and then 88 overall Jeremy Swayman as our starting goalie, and an 82 Hildeby as our backup, so we should simulate at least a little better than last season. This is a very, very good team. Hopefully we can have finally a deep playoff run. So here we are at the trade deadline. Probably not going to make the postseason this year, but we are going after Keandre Miller for a bunch of draft picks, and it was a no-brainer for the Utah Icemen to accept my offer. Now, honest to God, I have no idea if this trade will go through. It probably won't, but Lidstrom for Makar. Also, Lehkonen threw in some picks to add some value to our side. Let's see. And the Chicago Coyotes consider it a done deal. So not only do we get better on our D-Corp, but we also got younger. The next trade at the trade deadline, I'm off-hauling all these legends. They make too much money, and they don't even simulate that well. Now, the next trade I'm making is Jaromir Jagr for Charlie McAvoy. Straight up, McAvoy, we need defense. He's younger, signed long-term. Jagr's deal is up at the end of the season. He also only has 20 goals on the year. So let's see if the Alabama Burger Boys will accept rejected. So we have to sweeten the deal just a tad, and they are still rejecting. So we're probably going to have to add in at least a second-round pick in here. We don't have one, so I'll give up a first from 2032. Let's see Alabama accept my offer. And there we go, boys. We overhauled our team. Now, the bad news is we did miss the playoffs this season. We were horrible, 29, 44, and 9, only 67 points, not even close to making the postseason. The Chicago Coyotes were the best team, going 50, 27, and 5, followed by Fort Wayne, Waterloo, Central were up there, the New York Chefs, and the Alberta Moose. Were we the worst team? Yes, the Halifax Bulls were the worst team in the entire PHL, and I don't even know if we have our first overall draft pick for this season. We might have traded away in previous seasons. McDavid again leading our team, 43 goals, 95 points. Makar had 77, Gensel 72, only 22 goals. Troy Terry had 59, Cousins 54, Rope Hintz 52. And if we take a look at Swayman, he had a 905, but was allowing 3 goals against per game, 4 shutouts, and only 24 victories. Austin Matthews will lead the NHL in scoring with 107 points, followed by Lemieux, who had 104, Hughes had 102, and Maurice Richard 100. Matthews, only 32 goals on the season. As the great one, Wayne Gretzky will lead with 57. Lemieux had 55, Hull 53, and Pasternak 51. Sorokin led in wins with 38, and for shutouts, it will go to Andrei Vasilevsky, who had 6. And here is our year number 4 playoff bracket here in the PHL. Let's see who goes on and wins the Pasta Cup. And the Alaska Lions will go on and win the Pasta Hockey League Cup, beating the Waterloo Riz in 6 games in the finals. So congratulations to them. Also, shout out EA for fixing the playoff screen. I remember last season it was really annoying and it wasn't the same as the regular screen was. Rantanen leads the postseason in scoring, 16 goals, 29 points. Marner had 28, very unrealistic. Tage Thompson, 25, and Robert Thomas, who had 23. So the Alaska Lions definitely had that offensive firepower. Matthews will take him the Ted Lindsay, Art Ross, and Hart Trophy. Gretzky, the Maurice Richard, the Norris to Adam Fox. The Conn Smythe will go to Mitchell Marner. Ilya Sorokin, the Vezina, and the Selke to Jack Hughes. Now, I did mess up in the previous season, trading away our first round pick as Italy got it via Halifax. So we literally would have been able to select first overall this year. We missed the playoffs and we literally don't get anything. That sucks, man. That sucks so bad. All right, so heading into the 5th season, we still have Gensel, McDavid, and Terry, +5 there. We got Parasak, who's up to an 81 overall alongside Rope Hintz and Dylan Cousins. Aramaki with Domi, DeBrusque, and then we got Paul Guyette and Hayes. Defensively, we got Theodore McAvoy, or not McAvoy, Cale Makar, 98 overall, much improved. We also have McAvoy, Manson, Miller, and Chernak as our bottom pair, and then in goal, an 88 overall, Jeremy Swayman with Hildeby as the backup. If Swayman does not perform this season, I will be moving off of him in the off season. And thankfully, the Boston Alcoholics accepted my offer. We picked up Tyler Bertuzzi at the trade deadline for basically nothing, just draft picks, as we are over the cap right now. We're probably going to have to put somebody down in the AHL. So luckily, we are back in the postseason, 3rd in our division, 41, 37, and 4. We did kind of fall off after the trade deadline, but luckily we are in the play-in round for the entire PHL. The Chicago Coyotes, best team pretty much every year, 55 wins. The New York Chefs were up there. Fort Wayne, always going to be dangerous. Alaska was very good. The Boston Alcoholics, Waterloo Riz, and the Alabama Burger Boys. Connor McDavid, 48 goals, 108 points. Makar had 85. He was a very big pickup for us. Troy Terry had 62. Gensel, 59. Cousins, 53. And Rope Hintz, also 53. Swayman, only a 909 save percentage, 1 shutout, 31 wins. We might have to go out and try to find a better goalie in the offseason. I don't know what I'm going to get for $7.9 million. He's got 2 years left on his deal. I honestly expected a lot better out of him. Wayne Gretzky will dominate the PHL, 111 points. McDavid had 108, Trottier 106, and Lemieux 105. And for goals, Lemieux will lead with 60 on the season. Gretzky had 58, Hall 56, and Matthews 54 for goalies. Sorokin had 45 wins, and for shutouts, also Sorokin, who's been dominating in this sim at only a 92 overall. And here we go. This is the PHL playoffs. We, of course, are in the wild card round up against the St. Louis Guns. guns, the murder capital of the USA. And finally, for the first time in franchise history, the Halifax Bulls will win a goddamn playoff series. It's finally happened. It has taken us way too long to get here, but I guess 5 years in, we finally get the job done. Not even a real playoff round either. It's only the wild card round. So now we move on and face one of the division winners, I believe. And unfortunately for us, we are going to have to face the Fort Wayne Vikings, who, I mean, are a mini little dynasty. They have a very good roster over there. They are going to be a very tough series to beat. I don't know if we have it in us, but if we do, the time is now. Can Halifax do it? Let's find out. Somehow we did get the job done in Game 7, and now we face the Alaska Lions in the conference finals to see who goes on and plays for the Pasta Cup in the finals. Can we do it? Well, unfortunately, we would end up losing in 6 games in the conference finals. Our longest playoff run of the video. We went 10-10 in the postseason, so we just barely snuck by pretty much every single series, as we have the Chicago Coyotes and the Lions in the finals. Who will take home the Pasta Cup? Let's find out. And the Chicago Coyotes would get the job done in the finals over the Alaska Lions in 6 games, so they won their first Pasta Cup, and so far we have not had one single repeat champion, a new champion every single season. So the parity is at an all-time high here in the PHL. Now for us in the postseason, McDavid obviously was our best player, 12 goals, 26 points. Rope Hintz had 19, Makar 19. Troy Terry was up there, McAvoy, Theodore, and Jake Gensel. And in goal, Jeremy Swayman, again, not very good. 906 save percentage, 9 wins, 9 losses, no shutouts, allowed almost 3.5 goals a game. Gretzky will take home the Ted Lindsay, Art Ross, and Hart Trophy. The Maurice Richard will go to Lemieux. Bobby Orr is going to take home his first ever Norris. Dale Hawerchuk, the Conn Smythe, Sorokin again the Vezina, and the Selke will go to Connor McDavid of the Bulls. Now in free agency, I do want to upgrade my roster. We have only $6.2 million to spend, so we don't have a lot of options, honestly. Not a lot of guys. I mean, look at this. $20 million Wayne Gretzky wants for 4 years at 32 years old. I mean, he is a 98 overall. But goddamn, Wayne, you are taking up a big chunk of the cap here in the PHL. I might go out and actually trade for a new goaltender, considering Swayman has been absolutely horrible throughout this entire sim. I don't know why. He usually sims pretty good for me, but has not been good so far. All right, so here in the offseason, I'm going after the 3-peat Vezina winner in Ilya Sorokin. He is 32 years old, but we only have 4 years left in this sim, so I got Swayman, 2 first, a 4th, and Troy Terry. And the trade has been rejected. Totally unwilling, so there's no way we're going out and getting Sorokin. But we can't go out and get a different goaltender. So instead, I will be getting rid of Swayman for Igor Shesterkin, who is, again, 32 years old. Older than Swayman, makes more money, but he's an 89 overall, 1 overall higher. Hopefully, he can fit better with our team and actually sim better. So let's see if the Icemen will do it. And they have. They got younger with their goalie, so there is zero reason why they would reject my offer. Next up, this Arnott guy is on the trading block, so I'm going after him. Trading Troy Terry, whose contract is up at the end of the season. Also a prospect and a couple of picks. And the Utah Icemen consider it a done deal. Hopefully we can win at least one Pasta Cup throughout this video. If not, I'll be honestly very disappointed. We also went out and got Dylan Holloway in free agency for 2 years on a pretty cheap deal, honestly, and he's only, what, 26 years old at this point? Now, heading into year number 6, we still have Cousins, McDavid, and Gensel. Bertuzzi alongside Arnott, who's an 88 overall, and Rope Hintz. We also have Jake DeBrusk with Nick Paul and Parasak, who was our draft pick, I believe, in year number 1. He's 22 years old, so maybe we can throw him up on the second line to make him grow. We also have Lekaramaki I'll throw up on the third line. We got Nick Paul, Domi, and Holloway as our fourth line. Defensively, Sandin Pelika on the first line, our first D pair alongside Cale Makar, who is a 98. And then we have McAvoy, Theodore, Miller, and Chernak. And in goal, we have an 89 overall Igor Shesterkin with a backup 82 Hildeby. Hopefully, we can build upon the playoff run that we had last year and finally go to the PHL finals. And luckily, we did end up making the playoffs as we went 39, 32, and 11. A very bad record, 89 points. I don't know how we got in the PECA conference. Maybe it was just not that good. Even somebody below us, the Grizzlies, got in with 38 wins, so luckily we made it. Now, if we take a look at the entire PHL, the Chicago Coyotes, the reigning defending champs, we're the best team, winning 53 games, followed by the Waterloo Riz, the Fort Wayne Vikings, and the New York Chefs. McDavid led our team in scoring, 57 goals, 118 points, followed by Makar, who had 92. Arnott had 72, a very good pickup by me. Cousins, 62. Jake Gensel was up there, 38 goals. That is exactly what I want to see, Jakey boy. And if we take a look at Igor Shesterkin, a 900 save percentage, which I mean is not great, allowing 3.5 goals per game. Did have 2 shutouts and 28 wins, so I don't know if that was really an upgrade over Jeremy Swayman. If anything, we got older, and he's going to start trailing off. He's an 89 overall. That might have been a very bad trade for me to make, honestly. Connor McDavid will lead everybody in scoring with 57 goals. Him and Draisaitl will tie at 57, but for points, he will be sitting all alone with 118. Draisaitl had 114, Lemieux 109, Gretzky had a good season. Tim Stützle, who now is up to a 92 on the Iceman, 104 points. Cole Caulfield had a good season. Kaprizov was all right. And if we take a look at the goalies for wins, it will go again to Ilya Sorokin. Probably going to take home the Vezina again, and Glenn Hall will lead in shutouts with 6 on the season. And here is our year number 6 playoff bracket. We got to face the California Stoners in the wild card round, 7 games to even get into the postseason. We've had to do that pretty much every single year that we made the playoffs. Now, we did deal with the Stoners in 6 games in the first round, and again, in round number 1, we got to face the Fort Wayne Vikings, who have a very good squad. I don't even know how we beat them last year. And in Game 7, Jake Gensel gets the game winner as we are off to round number 2, baby. And now, just like last season in the conference finals, we are going to face the Alaskan Lions, which, I mean, we are pretty familiar with their team, and we did lose last year, I believe, so it is time for us to get our revenge. And again, for the 2nd season in a row, the Alaska Lions are going to eliminate us in the conference finals. This time in 5 games, we didn't even put up an effort. They beat us worse than last season, and now again, we failed to reach the PHL finals. You're telling me I'm going to go 10-year sim in my own league, and I'm not even going to make my own finals for 1 goddamn season? Now, in the finals, we have the Waterloo Riz against the Alaska Lions, so let's see who goes on and takes home the Pasta Cup. And again, we are going to have a first-time champion as the Waterloo Riz go all the way, winning their very first Pasta Cup in their franchise's history. Now, again, in the postseason, McDavid was great, 14 goals, 26 points. Makar had 23, Arnott had 16, Gensel 15, and Rope Hintz 13. And for Igor, he rocked a 917 save percentage, so he played better goaltending than Jeremy Swayman literally ever did in the postseason for us. So now I'm actually kind of happy that we made that trade, but McDavid is getting older, 32 years old, and still a 99. Draisaitl will take home the Ted Lindsay, Maurice Richard, and the Hart Trophy. The Art Ross will go to Connor McDavid. The Norris will go to Bobby Orr for back-to-back seasons. Nate Dogg is going to take home the Conn Smythe, Patrick Waugh the Vezina, and the Selke will go to Robert Thomas. Now, in the offseason, we did get Axel Sandin Pellikka back. Dennis Hildeby has decided to renew his contract. Parashak is back. Pavel Zacha literally snaked us in free agency and went to the Lions instead. I mean, I wouldn't blame you, brother. We have not really... I mean, the last 2 years, we have had playoff success making the conference finals, but outside of that, we were a very bad team for a pretty long while during this sim. Now, in the offseason, I'm getting rid of Shea Theodore. He's 34 years old, only an 86 overall. For a younger Mikhail Sergachev at 31, I believe he's an 87 right now. They also want to trade him, the Yukon Icemen. So let's see, 1-for-1, will this go through? Trade rejected, so we got to sweeten the deal just a tad. I'll throw in some draft picks to make this work. I'll throw in a 4th, a 5th, and a 6th round pick, and hopefully Yukon will accept, and they have. It is now time for also Jake Gensel to leave. 34 years old, down to an 85 for Brady Tkachuk, 1-for-1. That will not go through. So again, I'm going to have to go through, add a few 4th, 7th, 4th, a 5th, and a 6th round pick to sweeten the deal. And it's still rejected. Instead, I threw in 2 second-round picks, and the trade went through. So we are basically completely overhauling our roster here in year number 7. The next move I'm going to make is for Mo Seider from the Alberta Moose for Sullivan, who's a prospect Chernak, and a second-round pick. We're going all in here, so I will throw in a 2035 first-rounder, and the trade still is not going to go through, so we're going to have to sweeten it a little bit here. I threw in a 3rd-round pick, and we got that trade to go through, so now our decor is absolutely loaded. Now, as we head into year 7, on the first line, we consist of Brady Tkachuk, Connor McDavid, and Tarek Parashak. We also have Arnott with Rope Hintz and Dylan Cousins, DeBrusk, Lindstrom, and Lair Karamaki. And our 4th line, well, it isn't really great, but it's not bad either with Guyette and Dylan Holloway. Defensively, we got a lot better. We got Pellikka, Sandin Pellikka, alongside Cale Makar, who is a 98. And then we have McAvoy and Seider, Sergachev, and Keandre Miller. And in goal, Igor Shesterkin actually grew to a 90 overall, so he's better than he was last season. This will probably be the final year that he is that elite level goalie at an 89 because he is 34. He'll probably start to drop next season. So this is a year the Halifax Bulls have to go on and win a Stanley Cup. We are literally positioned to do so. Can we do it? Finally, for the first time in our franchise's history, after a very rough start to the regular season, honestly, we will be the best team in our division, 47, 33, and 2, 96 points. We would end up being the second best in the PECA Conference, only behind the Alaska Lions, who went 46, 26, and 10, 102 points. And for the entire PHL, the Chicago Coyotes, an absolute dynasty, 58 wins. Alaska was up there, Waterloo, and Halifax, baby, finally growing to be a PHL contender. The Boston Alcoholics were also up there as well. McDavid had an amazing season, 55 goals, 127 points. Makar had 87, Tkachuk 71. Also 35 goals, that was a W pickup. Cousins was good, Rope Hintz was okay. Even a guy like Charlie McAvoy chipped in, and in goal, Igor Shesterkin gave me a .911 save percentage, alongside 5 shutouts and 42 wins, something Jeremy Swayman literally cannot do his entire tenure here in Halifax. McDavid, again, going to lead everybody in goal scoring with 55, tying David Pasternak, but he would be in the lead for goals with 127. For goals, I mean points, my bad. I don't know why I messed up like that. Dale Hawerchuk, big season by him, 112. Bobby Orr had 109, Nico Hischier had 108, and Pasta 107. Also, shout out Jack Eichel and Roger McQueen, 29 goals, 105 points. Sorokin, again, will lead the goalies and wins with 44. Igor was not far behind, though, only 2 less. And for shutouts, it will go to my man, Igor Shesterkin, the starting goaltender of the Halifax Bulls. And here we are. This is the PHL playoffs. Finally, we do not have to play in the wildcard round. We will either face Fort Wayne or Warsaw. So all we got to do now is sit and wait, see who we face, and see if we can make a run at the Pasta Cup. And we are going to end up facing the California Stoners in round number 1. They had to go through a tough play-in round to even get here. So let's go ahead, finish them, and go on a very deep playoff run. In Game 7, the Stoners are going to put up 4 straight goals in the third period after we were up 2-1. Are you kidding me? What a glorified choke job by the Bulls. I believe we're cursed, man. I think the Halifax Bulls are the Toronto Maple Leafs of the PHL. History has been made in the Pasta Hockey League. The Waterloo Riz, the first ever team to go back-to-back, winning their second straight Stanley Cup, as they dominated the Stoners, who had a miracle run all the way to the finals. Couldn't get it done, though, as Waterloo are now 2-time Pasta Cup champions. McDavid was great for us in the playoffs. 8 goals, 15 points. Tkachuk had 12, Makar 12, Arnott had 7, and what did Igor do? He only had a .903 save percentage, so maybe that was the reason we ended up losing in our very first playoff round, was that Igor had like, what, a .917 in the regular season down to a .903 in the postseason. And there it is, our first ever repeat champions in the Pasta Hockey League. History has been made. McDavid is going to take home the Ted Lindsay, Maurice Richard, Art Ross, and Hart Trophy. Bobby Orr, the Norris, the Conn Smythe also to Bobby Orr. Igor will win the Vezina, and the Selke will go to Leon Draisaitl. I honestly don't know what more I could do to make this a Stanley or actually Pasta Cup contender. I mean, we won 47 games, literally a franchise high, and we still got bounced in round number 1 by a team that had to play in a play-in round. In the re-sign phase, we got to get back McAvoy and Cousins. They are going to want big boy contracts. Who else do we got to re-sign? DeBrusque, we got to get back. Lekara-Mackey's an RFA. Dylan Holloway is a UFA. Igor Shesterkin does have 1 year left. He's up to a 92 overall. Hopefully he stays at that for next season and makes us an even better team. Now in free agency, we went out and got Connor McDavid's personal trainer in Gary Roberts, 86 overall. Only wanted like 5.2 mil, so we gave it to him for 1 year, so he can leave in the offseason if he wants to. Or if we don't want to re-sign him, we don't have to. Very low risk and pretty high reward if we actually go on and win a Pasta Cup. Just give me one EA Sports. Like, this is crazy, man. My league is literally harder than the NHL is. I could be way more successful in the NHL, but the Pasta Hockey League, man, take no prisoners. This is the hardest hockey league in the entire world. Now, heading into year number 8, 3 more years left in the sim. Let's try to win a Pasta Stanley Cup. Let's see. This is what our roster looks like. Pretty similar, honestly. Everybody the same besides Gary Roberts and Lundstrom. On our third line, we're pretty stacked defensively. We're loaded as well. Sandin Pellikka literally did not grow playing on the first line, so I'm going to throw him down here alongside Mo Sider, and then we'll have Sergachev, Makar. Actually, Keandre, do work? You do work. There we go. Miller, Makar, McAvoy, Sergachev, Pelika, and Sandin, or Mo Sider, I mean. And then we have a 90 overall Igor Shesterkin. He already dropped down 2 overalls from the offseason, so we might have to move off of him either the trade deadline. I mean, if we don't, we're probably going to lose him for nothing. But I mean, who am I going to replace a 34-year-old 90 overall goaltender with? What am I going to get back for that? Now, yet again, for the second year in a row, we are going to win our division 48, 26, and 8, 104 points in the PECA Conference. We were the second best again behind the Lions, who won 54 goddamn games. And for the entire NHL, the Waterloo Riz, looking to go on a three-peat, are the best team in the PHL, followed by Alaska. Chicago was up there, Halifax, and California. Connor McDavid, another great season, 57 goals, 113 points. Kachuk had 90, Makar 82, Cousins had 65. Parashak finally grew up, 19 goals, 63 points. And if we take a look at Igor, only a 902 save percentage, so maybe we should have moved off of him at the trade deadline. 1 shutout, 35 wins. Kyle Connor will light up the PHL at 34 years old, 66 goals and 122 points, leading in both categories. Kyrou had 116. McDavid obviously always going to be up there. Teemu Solani had 113. Zegras 106, Bobby Orr 106, and Braden Point 103. Now if we take a look at the goal side, Connor did lead with 66. Ambuel had 64. This guy is, he's a 92 overall medium elite player, only 21 years of age on California. So look out for that. McDavid at 57, Hull 55, Lemieux 53, and this Caffrey guy had 52. If we take a look at the goalies, Jacques Plante will have the most wins at 43 and the most shutouts at 5. Tied alongside Jeremy Swayman, a 912 save percentage and 5 shutouts. Look at his stats alongside Halifax here. 897, 905, 909, 912 with the Yukon Icemen. And then this year he played 2 years with the Alaska or the Alabama Burger Boys and had a 910 and a 912. Still allowing 3 goals against per game though. And now in the postseason, we wait the winner yet again of Fort Wayne versus Warsaw. So hopefully we can beat them in round number 1. Never mind, I thought we were going to play Warsaw or either Fort Wayne, but instead we got the California Stoners for the second year in a row, who actually beat us last season in round number 1. They won their playing round in Game 7, so hopefully they're tired and we can't beat them. If we don't, man, I don't really know what I can do, honestly, to win a Pass the Cup. And thank God in Game 7, we got the job done. 4-3 victory. Lekaramaki scored the game-winning goal and sent us to round number 2. And in the second round, we have the Warsaw Monsters, who I'm not too familiar with their roster, but they must be good if they actually won a playoff series in the PHL. And for the first time in franchise history, the Halifax Bulls are headed to the Pasta Cup final. It took us 8 long years to get here, but we finally got the job done over the Warsaw Monsters, who gave us a run for our money. This is Game 7 of the conference finals, but thank God Halifax will finally play in the finals for the very first time. Connor McDavid has been waiting so long. He played all those years in the NHL, never won a Stanley Cup, played all these years in the PHL, and he's finally made the Pasta Cup final. Will he touch the trophy? He says no, as we are headed to the Pasta Cup finals. Now in the PHL finals, Halifax has to face the Chicago Coyotes, who have been a very great team basically since the start of the sim. It's going to be a very steep hill to climb, but if anybody can do it, it is McDavid and this Bulls roster. So let's see if we can finally go on and win our very first Pasta Cup. And finally, 8 long years later, and the Halifax Bulls are your Pasta Cup champions as we beat... I don't even know who we beat. It doesn't matter. Regardless of the fact, 8 long years, dude. You don't know how long I've been sitting here watching us fail. Oh, it was the Chicago Coyotes, right? We beat them in 5 games in the Pasta Cup final. As the Conn Smythe will go to Cale Makar, who put up 8 goals and 27 points. Kind of surprised by that. I honestly thought it would go to maybe Connor McDavid would be the guy to get it, considering he usually leads our team every single year. But shout out to Cale, as the Bulls, for the very first time in their franchise's history, are going to raise the Pasta Cup 8 years in. We literally almost failed the entire challenge of 10 years winning a Stanley Cup, rebuilding a team in the PHL. But thank God we have 2 more years to go. We literally are playing with house money now. McDavid coming to lift the cup for the very first time in his career. as the PHL champions are finally the Halifax Bulls. Shout out to Halifax, shout out to McDavid, shout out for the 8 long years of struggling to finally get it done. Now, for the playoffs, Cale Makar leading our team in scoring. Wow, McDavid only was point per game. Did have 10 goals, only 20 points in 20 games. Rope Hintz had 16, Tkachuk 15, Cousins had 14. Lekara was pretty good. And we take a look at Igor, 915 save percentage, something Jeremy Swayman could never give us. Also in 12, 6 and 2, no shutouts, but that's okay because we got the goddamn job done, baby. If we take a look at the entire playoffs, Makar did have the most points at 24. Howard-Chuck had. If we take a look at the entire postseason, Makar did have the most points at 27. Howard-Chuck had 24. Ambuel had 22, and Gretzky 21. Kyle Connor pretty much is going to win all the major individual awards. Bobby Orr is going to win his 4th straight Norris Trophy. Makar, obviously the Conn Smythe, Jacques Plante, the Vezina, and the Selke will go to Joe Sakic of the Italy Slices. So now in the re-sign phase, we do got to get back Mikhail Sergachev and Rope Hintz. Also, Parashak's got to be signed. Keandre Miller. Parashak's up to an 87, dear God. Luckily, we do have 42 million cap space. A lot of our guys are on the block, though, including an 87 Igor Shesterkin. I'm probably not going to re-sign him, considering the fact he is 35 years old. So I'll just go out and get a different goaltender for our franchise. Now, I'm hoping we do have enough cap space to re-sign everybody here. It looks so far so good. Everybody re-signed. Parashak is back. We got everybody back that we needed to. Now, Igor, I'm going to let him walk to free agency. Look for a goalie there, and maybe we can find a guy who will perform a little bit better. He's only an 87. And he's only going to get worse as the season progresses. So unfortunately, in free agency, there was literally no other goalies available. Lucas Dostel at like an 84 at 31 years old was the only goalie that I was thinking about. But we got back Igor. One more year. We might trade him or we might not. Who knows? I'm going to look at the market and see if there is a better goalie fit that is available. Now, heading in year number 9, we have the same exact roster. Gary Roberts, we got him back. We still have Rope Hintz. McDavid, still a 99 at 34 years old. Defensively, same exact decor with the same exact lines. We basically are running back the entire roster, trying to go back-to-back. I don't know if we'll get it done, but I mean, if there is a team and a player who can lead us there, it is Connor McDavid. Now, luckily, we did make the postseason yet again, going 43, 34, and 5, 91 points, second in our division. And for the Pecket Conference, we were the 4th best team. So luckily, we did make the postseason. And for the entire PHL, the Alaska Lions are the best, winning 54 games. Followed by Warsaw, Waterloo was up there, New York, and Chicago. Connor McDavid surprisingly had a pretty down season. 45 goals, 94 points. Makar only had 85. Tkachuk, 63. 34 goals, though. Dylan Cousins had 54. Rope Hintz was up there. Lekara was okay. Parashak, you're on the first line, and you're only putting up 19 goals and 46 points. That is despicable. Igor, yeah, Igor's finally caught up. Igor's age has finally caught up to him. 27 wins, 2 shutouts, and an 894 save percentage. That is rough. Ambuel is going to tear up the NHL. 63 goals, 118 points. Kucherov had 113. Robo, 111. Wayne Gretzky had 111. Jack Hughes was up there. Gavin had a good season on the goal side. Obviously, Ambuel led with 63. Cooch, at 38 years old, is going to put up 59 goals. What overall is he? He's an 83 overall, putting up damn near 60 goals. Mark Waugh had 59, Brett Hall 58, Pasternak 55, and Jason Robertson 52. And for the goalies, Diego will lead in wins with 42. And for shutouts, it will go to Ron Hextall at 35 years old, having 4 on the season. And we are now back in the wild card round. So if we win, we got to win to even get into the postseason. Hopefully we can do that. And hopefully we can go back to back. And unfortunately, in Game 7, we would lose to the Central Grizzlies 3-2, as the back-to-back story will not be happening, unfortunately. Oh man, I'm just glad we got a Stanley Cup. I literally thought I was not going to win a single one this entire video, but luckily we got that done last year, and now we have one more season to go, and the Waterloo Riz would go on and win the Pasta Cup, beating Alaska in 6 games in the final. So you mean to tell me Halifax is the only reason, well, not the only reason, considering Waterloo lost in the conference finals last year, but if it wasn't for us winning the Pasta Cup, Waterloo literally would have three-peated here in the PHL, becoming the very first team to do so, cementing themselves as the greatest franchise in the history of the Pasta Hockey League. Now in the playoffs, Jack Eichel will lead everybody in scoring, 13 goals, 32 points. Pasternak had 29. Roger McQueen had 25. Troy Terry had 20 and Gretzky 20 as well. And for goalies, Jacques Plante had a .919 save percentage, won 10 games, and I believe, no, he did not win. Patrick Watt only rocked an .899 save percentage, but will win the Pasta Cup with the Waterloo Riz. Jason Robertson is going to take home the Ted Lindsay and Hart Trophy. The Art Ross and Maurice Richard will go to Ambule. The Norris to Bobby Orr for 5 straight seasons. William Nylander is going to win the Conn Smythe. Plante, the Vezina, and the Selke will go to Pitton of the Italy Slices. And now I went out in the offseason in free agency, signed Dalibor Dvorsky, who's like a 90 overall, to a massive $14 million deal, and Alex Lafreniere declined my offer, went to the Burger Boys instead, so we got to find a replacement. I offer those guys the bag because I let my guys walk, and now we have 13 million cap space, so I am going to try to sign some people. Now, as we head into the final season, I'm pretty much running back the same exact roster, although they got a lot worse. McDavid now down to a 97, Parashak's an 86, Kachuk's down at an 89, Cousins, maybe I'll throw you up on the first line, Dvorsky's there with Lekara Mackey. Our third and fourth line aren't great defensively. We are still very, very set on D. And in goal, I mean, our goalie now is Dennis Hildeby at an 82 overall. I don't even know how we snuck into the playoffs, but we did get that done. 40 wins, 38 losses, 4 in overtime, 84 points on the season. For the PECA Conference, we would end up being the 5th best team in the conference. For the entire NHL, it would go to the Warsaw Monsters with a PHL record-winning 61 games, 15 losses, 6 in overtime. The best regular season team in PHL history. Chicago had 46, Boston 46. Nobody was even remotely close to Warsaw. If they don't go on and win the Pasta Cup, that has got to be up there with the Bruins winning 65 games and losing in round number 1. Connor McDavid is going to have 52 goals, 104 points. Makar had 80, Dvorsky 64, Cousins 58. Kachuk wasn't very good. Yeah, we didn't have a great season. And Dennis Hildeby had an .888 save percentage, but yet somehow we did make the postseason, even though we had Swayman rocking like a .903 and we would miss every single year. Jason Robertson will lead the PHL in scoring with 125 points, followed by Matthews, who had 108, also been very quiet throughout this sim. Pedersen had 107, Gretzky 106, Gavin had 106, and Lemieux 105. And on the goal side, the great one will lead with 60 tucks on the season. Lemieux had 58. Ambule obviously is always good with 58. McDavid 52. And Troy Terry, we traded him away because he literally was never good, and he's going to put up 51 goals on the Waterloo Riz. Look at this dude. 27 goals, 21, 24, 23. I know I played him on the third line, but he was never good enough to be a first liner, and now he pops off for 51 goals in the final season of the sim. Not to mention, he's also 35 years old. And of course, Halifax is going to play Fort Wayne in the wild card round of the postseason, in the final postseason of this video. Somehow we did beat them in Game 7 of the play-in round, and now we have the literally breaking record. Luckily, we did beat them in the play-in round, but we have to face the Warsaw Monsters, who are literally a PHL record-winning team. I'm actually impressed that we took them to 7 games, but of course we lost 5-2. They are a much better team than us. I'm not even mad at that. Yet again, we have a new time winner here in the PHL as the Boston Alcoholics go all the way. And shout out to the Boston Alcoholics getting it done, beating the Waterloo Riz in 6 games in the finals. Waterloo tried to go back-to-back again for the second time in this video, but Boston will grab their first ever Pasta Cup. Jason Robertson will take home the Ted Lindsay, the Art Ross and Hart Trophy. Gretzky, the Maurice Richard, the Norris will go to Cale Makar, who is on our squad, obviously. David Pasternak is going to win the Conn Smythe, the Vezina to Glenn Hall, and the Selke will go to Dvorsky on our squad as well. So the Bulls had 2 award-winning people. Now for the entire postseason, David Pasternak will lead in scoring, 20 points in 20 games, point per game. Roger McQueen had 19, Casper 18, Eichel 18, and William Nylander 18 as well. And that is going to do it for this video. I've gone ahead, bought the NHL from Gary Bettman, created my own entire league in the PHL, and I mean, we simulated 10 years. I wrote down all the statistics. For the Stanley Cups, I mean, it started out with Fort Wayne, went to California, Kansas City, Chicago, then Waterloo took over. They went back-to-back. Halifax got one. Obviously, thank God we got one throughout the video. And then finally, the Waterloo Riz won it. And then for the final season, it did go to the Boston Alcoholics. So shout out to all the PHL Pasta Cup winners. Let me know in the comments below if you would like to see a part 2 to this. Maybe we take control of a different team in the PHL and try to win them multiple Stanley Cups. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want to see that. I would like to say thank you all for watching, and until next time, don't be silly or happy really.